And good morning, everybody. Welcome to First Warning here on MavRadio.fm. Ben Helwig, Ethan Wolbach to my right, Jack Delperdang to my left. We're going to get things rolling here on a Tuesday. Plenty of action going on this weekend in the world of sports, both local and national. We're going to talk some football for you coming up. We're going to talk some NFL coming with you coming up. We're also going to try and figure out the soundboard because I feel like I broke it. But let's get things rolling here with Omaha Athletics because we got Omaha volleyball in action last weekend with their final non-conference tournament of the weekend. And we also had a couple soccer matches as well to talk about. We'll start with volleyball, though, because we have a couple of volleyball, I don't want to say experts, but volleyball enthusiasts in the room. And Ethan and myself.
Expert now.
Expert. That's right. Well, expert Ethan, we'll start with you. Omaha goes 1-2 on the weekend down at Grand Canyon. What's the biggest takeaway for Omaha this past weekend?
I think the biggest takeaway from Omaha is they're going to be glad that they are done with non-conference play. They've really struggled, especially, this weekend losing just two heartbreakers. All three matches went to 5 sets. They won 3-2 lost 3-2 against Idaho, then won 3-2 against CSUN, and then again a heartbreaker against Grand Canyon. The Mavericks, they look good. They look like they were willing to compete. But as we were talking before the show got started, it was just a heartbreaking loss to end the weekend against Grand Canyon. Being up 24-20 in that set number 4 could have ended it right there. And then for Grand Canyon to go on a 6-1 run to end that 4th set and end up taking it away from the Mavericks, just snatching away victory and what would have been a winning weekend. But instead, Omaha finds himself 1-2. As we come back home here, I know we got a game Friday at home. Who are we playing?
We got North Dakota, the Fighting Hawks.
Okay, gotcha.
So conference play starting now after wrapping up.
Thankfully.
Non-conference play. Yeah, I'd say so. Omaha 2-5 in their last 7. Not exactly the finish to the non-con that we would have liked considering how well it started going 3-0. But at an even 7-7 overall isn't the worst thing in the world. But is it any concern, Jack Delperdang, that Omaha kind of stumbled to the finish line of their non-conference play?
I don't think so. They really challenged themselves in a bunch of these tournaments in the non-conference. And what they're going to face in the Summit League is obviously doesn't compare to Creighton and Washington as they faced 2 weekends ago. And that Cal State Northridge, I think, after losing that heartbreaker to Idaho on Friday, bouncing back Saturday morning and grabbing that one in 5 was really important. Despite losing later that day, they were up 2-0 in that match, squandered the 3rd and the 4th before bouncing back in impressive fashion in that 5th. Claire Leonard had a double-double, 17 kills, 12 digs. Just a really impressive match on Saturday morning for the Mavericks.
And in that match also, Sadie Lindbeck tied her career high with 18 kills. It's going to be really interesting to see what she does in conference play and how much of a factor she will be. Because, last year she was, the star for the Mavericks just as a freshman. So now as a sophomore, some more confidence, some more control, and hopefully we run away with this conference play.
Yeah, Coach Buttermore being a little bit more loose with his rotation. He can throw anybody out there on any given match. And, yeah, Claire Leonard over these last 2 weekends has really started to produce a lot more for Omaha after coming off of that ankle injury. So it's good to see her doing well and doing things both in the back row and the front row. But I think you hit it on the head, Ethan. What is Omaha going to bring to the table now in conference play? As Sadie Lindbeck dominated Summit League play last year, she, again, didn't start the season playing right away for the Mavericks, and then when she got rolling, she's starting to get her feet wet a little bit. Tying her career high is huge. Looking at just the Summit League standings, though, everybody's looking up at. Obviously, everybody's even because no Summit League games have happened yet. But South Dakota is 11-1 in non-conference play. Omaha currently sits in 4th behind Denver and the Fighting Hawks, who happen to be coming in on Friday night, like we mentioned. Is it concerning to either of you guys that South Dakota sits at 11-1 in non-conference play? And forgive me because I really don't know who they have played yet, as Jack is pulling it up right now.
Yeah, that's what I was doing too.
But I would say Omaha has challenged themselves with a really tough non-conference schedule. And Jack mentioned Washington and Creighton, but
Kansas as well receiving votes.
Yeah.
That Kansas squad came in to Baxter Arena, swept the Mavericks, and they look like a team that could easily be in the top 25.
Oh,
I mean,
for
they
sure.
They were tall, they were powerful, and I mean, the Mavs tried their best. You know, they were competitive in that for at least the beginnings of the sets, but then, I mean, just overall, just coaching and just team chemistry, the Jayhawks just really wiped the floor, which was unfortunate to see. But I don't think we'll be facing that level of competition in conference play. But Jack, do you have the South Dakota schedule there?
Yeah, and as you said, Omaha has really challenged themselves out of conference. South Dakota hasn't played a ranked team or even a team receiving votes yet in the non-conference. So I think that could be an advantage for Omaha as they have challenged themselves and maybe they're more ready going into conference play.
And just looking at the schedule as you have it pulled up here, arguably their toughest game against Iowa was played in Vermillion. So,
Only two Power 5 schools.
and it was Iowa State,
Yeah.
who I wouldn't say are exactly our world beaters as far as.
No.
I mean, it is something to see that they have won. So they got swept by Iowa State, but then every single match that South Dakota has played, it's ended either 3-0 or 3-1.
Yeah, they have won pretty convincingly.
Iowa was a 3-2. But yeah, I mean, they look like a real good team. The level of competition is not there so far this year in their non-conference play, but it'll be interesting to see when the Mavs match up with the Yotes.
Yeah, the Yotes. When do they come to town? You still got that schedule up? When do the Yotes come to Baxter? I'll give you some time. But yeah, South Dakota won the conference tournament last year, kind of upset Denver in Denver.
They don't come to Baxter until senior night.
November
Ooh.
1st.
We play them in Vermillion October 4th, but yeah, they don't
another
come.
month until they come to
Yeah.
Omaha.
Ethan, are we just going to talk about Omaha, South Dakota during College Radio Day? Just give live play-by-play from here for Vermillion?
Ooh, that would actually be really, really sweet.
We just live talk about the game when we're not even there.
Just
We could
look
do
at the
that.
play-by-play and be like,
we could make that work as volleyball experts now.
That's right, experts, aficionados. Again, yeah, College
Aficionados.
Radio Day, October 4th here at MavRadio.
Midnight to
24
midnight.
hours straight. Yep.
Dark noon to dark noon.
We'll be on the air that whole time, giving you guests, games, bunch of fun stuff. So that is October 4th, College Radio Day here at MavRadio.fm. Don't want to miss that. But again, Omaha plays South Dakota October 4th. That's going to be a good litmus test early on in the season for the Mavericks
Love it.
volleyball team to see just how good they are in conference play. South Dakota, again, won the conference tournament last year, picked top 2 to finish this year. I don't think we should be too worried about Denver as we have been in years past. They certainly have taken a step back, and I talked about it last week. Denver got swept by High Point in a non-conference tournament at Nebraska earlier this year. Omaha played High Point to 5 sets, and that was coming off of a really long weekend. So maybe fatigue got to them a little bit in that one as well. So I think Omaha should be confident going into conference play because you can never really invest too much into non-conference play because obviously the Summit League games are what really matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that one.
to your point about that High Point, that was the weekend they played the Blue Jay Invitational, so they had played a game on Friday, 2 games on Saturday. They were ahead 2-0 in that match. Would have been nice to grab the W, but as you said, maybe a little bit of fatigue in those last couple sets took them back.
So we remind you then, Friday night, Omaha takes on North Dakota. That's a 7 o'clock tip. That will be on MavRadio.fm. If you are looking for Omaha soccer, that will be strictly on omavs.com this weekend. That women get rolling. We'll get to the women's and men's soccer in a little bit here, but women's soccer begins at 5:30. If you're looking for the soccer matches this Friday, go to omavs.com. If you're looking for volleyball and you want the radio, go to MavRadio.fm. We'll have it for you. Ethan and I will be down there at Baxter bringing to you that. Owen will have the soccer from Coniglia as well. Busy Friday for Omaha Athletics as we're going to have 4 home events in 3 days, so that'll be fun. Because then Sunday, North Dakota State, the Bison come into Baxter Arena as well. I will be there 1 o'clock, MavRadio.fm. Owen Godwerson will be on the call as well. Ethan, you got to work?
I do have to work. I got
You can
Friday
just
off.
skip it.
I got
good job
Friday
getting
off.
Friday off. Make sure you get Denver off. I'm just saying.
Denver is like when we go to Denver.
I mean, both.
Well, if I have to quit my job to go to Denver for the Summit League tournament, that'll be just fine. But I'll make sure I get that off, and then Denver here in Omaha, I will get off as well.
Okay, because we like doing the games. Ethan and I got a little bit of a rapport now. But anyway, we're gonna move on to
Rapport.
women's soccer. Boy, they just can't not lose 1-0. It seems it's five
Five in a
matches in a row that they lose 1-0 as they fall Saturday to the Missouri State Bears. It just gets to a point where it's almost like in your head a little bit too much. But we talked about it last week too. It's just a tough non-conference schedule for both of these soccer teams, but for the women in particular. That match against Missouri State 1-0. Jack, thoughts?
Yeah, Missouri State came in 5-2-1. For Omaha, it was really nice to get Bailey Cascio back out there. She had a broken collarbone, was out for, I don't even remember how long, but she had been out, and pretty much during this stretch, Omaha struggling to find the back of the net. They do so again, drop 1-0 against Missouri State. At this point, I think they're just looking forward to conference play. Maybe you can grab one of these next two to get some momentum, but as you said, just tough stretch in non-conference for the women.
They do have a match tonight against Drake. That's out in Des Moines, so if you feel like driving and have some free time tonight, it's not too far if you want to go watch the women take on Drake, but they will be back home Friday as they face Grand Canyon. That'll be 5:30.
I'm looking at the stats here for the women's team. They have 4 goals on 62 shot attempts. That is not a good number. I mean, I know the scores during soccer aren't as high as we see in other sports, but still only 4 goals, and we are how many games in are we?
They played 8.
8. So, yeah, that's not going to get the job done. Hopefully, Jack, like you said, come conference play here, or was it Ben? Either of you that said once we get to conference play, hopefully they start putting the ball in the back of the net, quit hitting the crossbar just wide, get some good placement there, and hopefully start off conference play with some momentum.
Yeah, salt in the wound with this last one. It was an own goal that actually took down the Mavericks.
I did see that
in
on
the first
Twitter.
half. So
It's just it gets to the point where the goal support just has to kick it into gear because you're just leaving your goalie high and dry, and you haven't scored in the last 5 matches. Like you just got to find that goal support somewhere.
And as
whether
we
it's
discussed
not going
last
games.
week, whoever they had been putting in the net those last few games had been doing really
I
well.
believe it had been Lemke for the most
Yeah.
part. Bunker and her had been splitting time. I lose a little bit of track once they go on the road. It's
Okay.
easier to follow because I get to listen to Owen Godberson. He just makes the listening experience so good for me. So I'm able to follow the match a lot better.
So much passion in that man's voice.
A lot of fun to listen to. In all seriousness, if you want to get good soccer analysis, Fridays at 1 o'clock, Maverick Match Day, Owen Godberson, Jack Hoover do a really good job with that show. But just looking at the rest of the Summit League, we did it for some volleyball as well. Omaha, dead last in the Summit League right now. They're 1-6-1. The next closest team, Oral Roberts, is 3-6-1. They played a few more matches. It was Omaha, not done with non-con yet. But you look at South Dakota, who's 7-3, or North Dakota, who's 6-3-1, or North Dakota State, who's 5-3-1. Again, those matches don't matter because when it comes to the actual conference play, that's going to be what gets you the seeding, your conference record. But the confidence just has to be really low right now, as Omaha hasn't scored, I believe, what is it, in 6 matches now?
5.
5. Going back to that 2-1 win.
Northern Iowa
Against Northern
in
Iowa.
August.
They have yet to win at home. They haven't scored a goal at home all season either, I don't believe. No, they scored against Illinois State.
Yeah.
Then.
They grabbed 2, but they lost that match, unfortunately.
But yeah, the women's soccer team have some things to fix before they get into the conference play. What does conference play begin for them, Jack? You're just kind of our schedule guy here.
October 3rd is their first conference game, but that's away. Their first home conference game is a week later, October 10th.
It's North
7
Dakota
p.m.
State. North Dakota State, again, we just said top 3 right now in non-conference play, and you never really can tell because you don't know the quality opponents. And that being said, Omaha has played a tough non-conference schedule in soccer as well.
They have.
Oklahoma State, a team receiving votes. Kansas, a team receiving votes. Memphis is a top 20 team. So they played some really good teams, but it gets to the point where maybe hurts morale a little bit more than it kind of sharpens you for the rest of the season. But now we kind of shift gears over to the men's soccer team. They're struggling as well. They, I believe, played to a draw against Air Force.
No, they got the
They
win.
got
They
the
got the
win.
win.
We are on a win streak.
Oh,
Yep.
We have our first win of men's soccer.
Hey,
2-1 shocker at Air Force.
My apologies. I was seeing Twitter reaction to Air Force scoring a goal and like we had lost or just played to a draw. So forgive me for that.
And it was a crazy game because it could have ended in a 1-1 draw. We scored early. Omaha scored early in the 29th minute. And then nothing really happened the rest of the game all the way up until close to that 90th minute mark. Marcus Bautista for Omaha scored in the 86th minute. And then Air Force turned right around and scored in the 89th. And I was talking with Owen Goberson. If there was any extra time in that game, Air Force was making a run. This game could have easily ended in a 2-2 draw. Or if we wouldn't have got that second goal, or the Mavs didn't get that second goal, it could have ended in a 1-1 draw. So really, luck was on their side. Somebody did their happy dance, their winning dance, so that the Mavs could finally get their first victory of the season. And like we were talking with the women's team, the men's soccer team has faced some really tough opponents. Their past 3 matches, Air Force, Creighton, and Michigan, all 3 of those teams are receiving votes. Earlier in the season, they played at St. Mary's, which was number 11 in the country. And then their very first exhibition game was against UCLA, another team receiving votes. So, the Mavs are sitting at 1-4-2. That's not what you would hope would come out of this non-conference schedule. The Mavs have been predicted to be very good, especially Owen Godberson has been talking them up all summer and leading into the first week of the season. But they're on a win streak, and hopefully they can ride that momentum from the win in Colorado against Air Force back home to Caniglia Field when they play this Friday.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jack.
And to your point about the schedule in the past, that still doesn't let up. Cal State Northridge comes in ranked this Friday, and then they go to Springfield to take on Missouri State, who's also receiving votes. Mm-hmm. 5 teams in a row who are either receiving votes or in the top 25 for the Mavericks. And I think this was a really important one, grabbing that win at Air Force, because against Creighton, they lost arguably their 3 best goal scorers in Miguel Gomez and Aaron Uribe. They both got red cards in that match. Diego was also missing. He had an injury, I believe. Just a really impressive team win for the Mavericks, grabbing that win in Colorado.
And it's not going to let up come conference play, because right now Oral Roberts and Denver are both receiving votes.
Yeah, Oral Roberts. I don't think anybody really saw this coming. Oral Roberts is 7-1 right now. Yeah. Denver, despite being 1-5-1, they only have 1 win too. Have also played a murderer's row of a non-conference schedule like the Mavericks have. I think that's going to be good for them in the long run. I think Omaha and Denver really challenge themselves with really tough non-conference schedules, and that's only going to benefit them coming Summit League play. But when you look at it, Omaha, it's usually, according to Owen, it's Omaha, Denver, and then Purdue-Fort Wayne is a solid soccer school as well. Oral Roberts has not played a ton of very good teams. Loyola Marymount probably being the best of that bunch, but they lost. That's their only loss as well. But
they have
who knows? Oral Roberts
goals.
7 wins.
Oral Roberts has 18 goals throughout.
As opposed to Omaha, how many they have?
Omaha, we have 6.
Yeah, it seems
so
like
it's doubled up on us.
But again, we've played all those great teams. They really haven't challenged themselves in the non-conference. As you said, Ethan, we played St. Mary's, Michigan, Creighton, and Air Force in a 4-game span with only UNLV in between. And then coming up 2 more games against receiving votes and a top 25 team.
Yeah, I don't think you can understate enough how important that win was this weekend, just for morale, because to go on the road and play a team that was receiving votes, down 3 of your best players, and to win that one by the skin of your teeth is just so huge for that team, considering what they looked like at the end of that Creighton match, just completely decimated and depleted and
shambles.
Yeah, just in shambles. Just a bad look, I think, is what what Owen said following on the broadcast for that Creighton game. Just to come in and respond that weekend with a huge win at Air Force, really impressive job by the men's team. You alluded to it, Jack. Friday night, I believe that one starts at 8.
Yes.
Yep, 8 o'clock.
8 against Cal State Northridge, the number 23 team in the nation. We'll have it for you here on MavRadio.fm as Jack McGonigal makes his way into the studio. He's going to want to talk some college football, so we're going to tease that. We're going to come back with Jack McGonigal Jack Delperdang, Ethan Wolbach, Ben Helwig here from MavRadio Studios. Unless you guys have anything else on Omaha Athletics. Did you guys have anything else you want to get off your chest?
Men's soccer keep the win streak alive.
Keep it going.
They grab 3 of their better players back for the next game. Hopefully they can keep up with those goals.
We got 4 Omaha home events within 3 days this weekend. Come on out and support the Mavs. Let's go 4-0 here, Omaha.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll
Let's do
come
it.
back after a break. We're going to talk college football. Wild weekend. Badgers looked good. We'll be right back. This is First Warning on MavRadio.fm. And welcome back to First Warning here on MavRadio.fm. We got Jack and Jack to my left, Ethan to my right. I am Ben Helwig. College football weekend. It was a good one. It was a lot of fun games, a lot of good ranked versus ranked matchups. Maybe those games weren't as good as some of the other ones. That UCF Pittsburgh game you guys were just talking about off air was maybe the game of the weekend.
Yeah, I'd agree with that
A
one.
lot of fun games over the course of the weekend. And who stayed up for that Washington State UCLA game?
I did.
Goodness. Holy crap, that was fun as well. We'll get into it here. We'll start with you, McGonigal, because you haven't had the chance to talk yet. Or are you still looking? I don't want.
No, yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead.
College football week 4.
4.
It was
Four.
week 4, yep.
What really stuck out to you? Maybe individual performance or a specific game?
It was the Pac-12 after dark game, UCLA Washington State. If you didn't watch the game, you probably thought the basketball teams played with that score. But yeah, just seeing UCLA UCLA make that historic comeback after an 0-3 start. It was maybe there is some promise in UCLA. Maybe there's a little bit of hope in LA with the Chip Kelly offense. I think put 63 on a top 25 team.
Yeah, good for them.
67.
Yeah.
And then, Washington State kind of coughed that one away. Just that fumble at the end was just brutal. And how many touchdowns did that Washington State quarterback have?
9 touchdowns.
570 yards and 9 touchdowns and a loss. Can you imagine that? That'd be so frustrating.
Well,
To do that and have your defense I know they had the fumble at the end, but
we saw that with Houston. Houston's quarterback said that he is sitting out the rest of the year.
Yeah.
He's going to redshirt and then transfer because the defense blew the game for them. And he's tired of it happening, and he feels like he's putting his, I think he said putting his best foot forward. I think he could have said it a little bit better, but
I think to that point, they just bring in Dana Holgorsen into what maybe was kind of a step down, it almost seemed like, going from West Virginia, a Power 5 school, to Houston, and now Derek King transfers. Do you guys see a possible landing spot for him, or are you guys surprised by that at all?
I actually think that could start happening a little bit more in college football, where I know Ethan said that he pointed out that he said that it was because of the defense, but could you see the group of 5 quarterbacks maybe trying to sit out their senior year and then grad transfer to maybe go to a bigger school and then improve their draft stock? I was thinking about that.
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is a prime example of that one.
I think when you talk about like the non-Power 5 schools, though, I mean, you see guys make the NFL all the time from these. Like Carson Wentz didn't even go to an FBS school. Josh Allen went to Wyoming. Easton Stick made an NFL roster. I mean, you see these guys make the NFL. You don't have to go to a Power 5 school necessarily, but I think you make a good point. The transfer, I don't know if you want to call it a problem, as I like where we're going down this rabbit hole instead of some of the games this weekend. But, like, what do you guys think about all the stuff that's happened with that? Like, you see it's the transfer quarterback situation right now is crazy. Like, Alex Hornibrook playing for Florida State last week. We talked about Jalen Hurts, Kelly Bryant, Kyler Murray, and Baker Mayfield, both transfers as well. It's crazy how many transfers there are in college football right now. And as you guys are talking, I can think of more, but it's insane. Brandon Peters,
at Illinois.
Yeah, at Illinois. I didn't even know he was at Illinois. It's like a new discovery every week. Do you guys like that about college football, or do you think that there just needs to be a little bit of limitations on that?
Yeah, I like it because I know it'll get more guys exposure for the NFL if they're not, if there's like Justin Fields, you had Jake Fromm there at Georgia.
It's a good one.
So, he wasn't going to get see the field, so he had to transfer, I feel like. So, in that case, I feel like it is necessary. But, like, in the Houston regards, just blaming one side of your team is the reason you're leaving. I just don't necessarily agree with that.
And to go on that point, Houston's quarterback, it's not like he threw 9 touchdowns in a game and still lost. I mean, he only had 229 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game versus Tulane. So It's not like he is some just all powerful quarterback that's going to run out there and, give your offense, 6-7 touchdowns, 42 points to play with. I mean, you played a Tulane squad that isn't terrible. I mean, their jerseys were amazing. If you guys saw that.
So clean.
Powder blue with a little bit of green splash in there. But I've been watching, what's the show called? QB1 on Netflix. And it had Jake Fromm in high school. It had Justin Fields in high school. And you see all these kids, and they're so excited to go and play for Georgia, or they're so excited to go play for Ohio State like Tate Martell. And then you see, times get tough, and maybe they're not promised or given what they were promised by the coaches. And boom, they transfer. I mean, Tate Martell is the prime example. He was going to go to Ohio State out of high school, Bishop Norman Gales, and now he's a wide receiver at the University of Miami. He transferred from Ohio State to Miami, got beat out, and now switched positions to wide receiver. So, I mean, a part of me agrees with Jack McGonigal there. I do like people getting exposure, but at the same time, I think that kids are soft. If they stick it out and actually compete, then I think that they might be a little bit more successful, not just in football, but in life in general. But again, it'll just be interesting to see if this turns into an epidemic.
To your point, Keaton Slovis, right, from USC, 4-star quarterback coming out of high school.
Oh, yeah.
He's a third string for USC. JT Daniels tears his ACL, and then who is the backup? Oh, no, Slovis. Matt Fink, I meant. He played because Slovis got hurt this weekend, led his team to a victory against a ranked Utah team at home. He stuck it out, right?
Yeah, he did. And look, now you're reaping the rewards.
Yep.
I mean, you're still at a good Division I school that you can be successful at.
And they're ranked now.
Yeah, they are ranked.
Back in the standings, third-string quarterback coming into the year. Now you got the keys.
You weren't going to say it, but I will say you did call USC beating Utah. And I believe you even said they were going to do it with their third string. So kudos to you.
Back to Derek King. A place I could see is Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Lincoln Riley's
gosh.
That makes sense.
He's dipped into the transfer portal before with Baker, Kyler, and now Jalen.
Dipped. He double dipped.
Yeah.
Triple dipped.
He's going to quadruple dip.
Oh,
Does he
he's
go back?
He's going to go ahead and just stick his whole hand in the cookie jar.
I'm not sure who they have for a backup quarterback right now, but that could be one place that I see him landing.
I call them Wendy's because they're 4 for 4, right? Oh.
Boom.
Anyway, yeah, it was a busy weekend. I want to start with, you mentioned it. Did you guys see the end of that Tulane-Houston game with the fake kneel?
Yes, I
I've
did.
never
I did
seen
not.
that, and I've always wanted to see a team do it. And
Texas
it was,
Tech did it a couple years ago.
I don't even remember that. It was just phenomenal. But and then they set it up for the touchdown. Craziest ending to a game you might see all year. And then it was topped by UCLA, Washington State, whatever that weekend. But we'll go to you now, Delperdang. Biggest takeaway, either individual performance or game from last Saturday, or I guess extended weekend.
Georgia Notre Dame was a really good game. CBS Saturday night. Jake Fromm, Ian Book, really good quarterback matchup there in Athens. The crowd looked electric on TV. Notre Dame kept it closer than most would have thought. I believe Georgia was favored by 2 or 3 touchdowns. But Ian Book had a really good day, kept it close, had a chance to win the game late. I believe they got the ball back. Could have gone down the field. They got stopped on 4th down. Georgia survived.
To that point on Notre Dame, I saw something in the last 20 years or something like that against top 5 opponents. In their last 20 games, it was just in their last 20 games against top 5 opponents, they're 1-19. Like, Notre Dame used to be this huge program, and I know they made a playoff recently. Yeah, they made a playoff last year.
Yeah.
And then they made it to the college football BCS championship a few years ago. But they got squashed in both of those games. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Notre Dame, especially the fact that they don't have a conference. You can never really measure how good they are against other conferences. I just think maybe the era of Notre Dame kind of being America's team is kind of come and gone.
And I hate to be Debbie Downer about their season, but I kind of feel like college football playoff is out for them.
They should always be out.
a
If you're not in a
loss-
conference,
Yeah.
you should not
a
make college
loss and
football
no
playoff.
conference championship at the end of the year. I mean, Ohio State and Wisconsin look really good from the Big Ten. You got to think one of them represents. Clemson is a freight train from the ACC. You got Oklahoma; they look pretty good, and then the SEC. I mean, the last year they had 2 teams, right? You got to always think that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is the season over for the Irish in September?
Well, going back to their schedule here, so they play at Virginia this week, and then they got Bowling Green. Then they have a USC squad that is looking pretty good right now. They've got a Michigan team that's top 20 right now, but really doesn't play like they should be in the top 25. Virginia Tech, Duke, a Navy squad that walked into the big house, Michigan there, and took them to double overtime, right? Oh, that was Army.
Army. Yeah.
But still, Navy's not going to throw the football. They're going to run it down your throat. Then Boston College and Stanford. I mean, their strength of schedule is just really not there.
Yeah.
I don't think there should be any shot of them with one loss making it in. So say they win out, I still don't think strength of schedule puts them in the college football playoff talk at all.
Yeah, I think 11-1 isn't going to do it this year. Although the ACC is really, really bad this year. So maybe if Clemson loses a game somehow, I don't see that happening. Maybe they get some talk because the ACC is so bad, and then the Pac-12 is probably going to beat up itself too. But then at that point, then you might be looking at 2 SEC teams, or there's a couple teams in the Big Ten or Big 12. I would be more inclined to put a one-loss Texas team in there before a one-loss Notre Dame
That
team.
hurts me.
I feel
so
like
much.
Clemson,
Yeah.
unless they lose in the ACC championship game, the committee will find a way to get them in.
I mean, you got to have an ACC team in there. They're not going to not have their strongest
Right.
demographic of fans, the Southeast. They're not going to take away from that. Like
Unless they
from
somehow
money
lose
standpoint,
2.
they're just not going to do that.
Right.
Like the Big Ten, like that area of the country does not watch football as
They
much
go
as
to
that
it.
Southeast does. It's a financial thing. So you can tell me all you want about how they're doing it the even way and the fair way. No, comes
money.
down to money, and this comes down to eyeballs on screens.
I
And so
agree.
at the end of the day, when it comes down to are they going to pick a Southeastern school or the rest of the country, they're going to pick a Southeastern school. So like you said, they're going to find a way to get Clemson in there. Just
And Wolbach, you hit on Notre Dame's schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and you ran through Michigan right there. Do you or Ben? I know Ben, you're a Wisconsin fan. Do you have any thoughts on that game?
all bias aside, I don't think Michigan looked very good. Like Wisconsin
All bias
ran the
aside.
ball, they ran the ball well. Like that's what Wisconsin was going to do. Michigan did not seem prepared for that game, especially coming off of a 2-week break. And their offensive line is awful. Joel Klatt said that on the broadcast at least a dozen times. They looked really bad. I felt bad for Shea Patterson. I felt bad for McCaffrey. Those guys just got beat up all day. And I think Michigan just really needs to refocus how they want to play offense. I think they just have to throw the ball 70% of the time or more. They can't run the ball like they used to. The offensive line just isn't there. They
don't
got
have
to
a
get
dual-threat
Donovan
quarterback.
Peoples-Jones involved.
And
They
neither
don't-
is the defensive line, right? Jonathan Taylor ran through them. Obviously, losing Rashawn Gary and Chase Winovich is going to hurt, but they're really undersized on the defensive line, and Jonathan Taylor just exposed that.
I think Wisconsin's offensive line was better than people thought it was going to be this year, but that's just kind of how Wisconsin offensive line works. So I think that was part of it as well. But Michigan's still got a decent defense. I don't think Michigan's going to fall off the rails. They just have to know they're going to throw the ball more. They have to keep their quarterbacks healthy. It sounds like Patterson's going to play this weekend after getting banged up this past weekend. But I mean, look, if Michigan goes something like 9-3, is it crazy enough to say Harbaugh gets fired? I don't think so, because he has not produced now that these are the guys that he wants in the program. He picked these guys. The old guys are gone, like well gone now. This was supposed to be the year that they were miles better than Ohio State, and now it looks like the exact opposite because Justin Fields is throwing for a zillion yards, and Michigan can't move the ball past the 50.
Well, they fired Brady Hoke, and I believe his last 2 years he went 9-3, 8-4. So they got Harbaugh to take them over the top.
How do you?
He hasn't
that's like
really
Nebraska
improved the
firing Frank
program.
Solich for
Right.
not winning.
Yep, or
Not
even Bo
winning enough.
Pelini.
Yeah, even
it's,
Bo- yeah,
it's
Bo
the same
Pelini.
thing. So
No,
And for Wisconsin,
they'll fire him.
for me, the key is Jack Cohn going forward. He looks good in the play action game, and looking at their schedule, they really won't face a team until the end of October, Ohio State on the road.
they have a tough end of the season. They got Ohio State, and then later in the season they'll have a 3 or 4 week span where they will see Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota.
Yep.
And Minnesota and Nebraska are both on the road. So those are going to be tough games. That's a tough end of the season for Wisconsin, but they also have Michigan State earlier on in the season as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Wisconsin is good. I think they could go something like 10-2, 11-1. Probably a New Year's Six Bowl.
Right.
That's probably what you're looking at for Wisconsin right now. They don't have the talent to match up toe-to-toe with Ohio State, or God forbid if they sneak into a playoff and play Alabama or Clemson, that game would probably get ugly in a hurry.
Even that Michigan State game that you mentioned, Michigan State doesn't have much of an offense. I know they scored like 31 or whatever it was against Northwestern this weekend, but their offense isn't very good. I think Wisconsin will shut them down. That should be a low-scoring game. I think Wisconsin should also be able to move the ball relatively well on offense too, and I think they'll win that game comfortably. It is at home as well. Great environment for the Badgers.
They did stripe it out on Saturday. I always appreciate
see
when
that.
they
That
can
looked nice.
when they can coordinate that. That's a
I've got a
good look.
question about the SEC.
Okay, I'm gonna rail on the SEC if that's what you want.
Please
Okay.
go for it. Who do you take making it to the college football playoff between Alabama, Georgia, and LSU?
McGonigal.
They're all 3 top 5 schools.
I think it's gonna be the Tide.
Still the Tide?
I think Alabama. I think they'll overcome. Where is that game? That game in Tuscaloosa or Baton Rouge? That's in Tuscaloosa this year. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Alabama. I think Tua will overcome Burrows and the Tigers, but it'll be a good game. I say LSU gets in. They'll get one of those New Year's Six bowls.
Yeah, and then who was it? You said Auburn and
Same with Auburn.
Yeah.
And then Georgia.
Georgia.
Oh, and
feel
Georgia,
like,
too.
I feel like there
Goodness.
could be 2 SEC teams.
Do you
in
think
this year.
Alabama and Georgia will both be undefeated by the time we get to the SEC championship?
Yes.
Boy,
I think
that'll be
it'll be
great.
12-0, 12-0.
And then we'll have to hear the narrative about how that's the real playoff because
That's the real
Well,
pre-national championship.
And then they'll throw Alabama and Georgia in the college football playoff, and then we'll see it as a national championship. Like we
What-
did
Oh
a couple
yeah,
years
Alabama,
ago.
Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma.
You know what? Like they could honestly have, as much as I really am not a fan of the way the SEC it just gets looked at from a national perspective, they really could have a solid playoff of just SEC teams
They
that
have
I would
5
watch.
teams in the top 10.
I mean, I don't think
But then
Auburn
look
looks
at the
that
rest
good.
of the SEC, though.
Are Florida
The SEC
and
is-
Auburn really national championship
Florida loses
caliber?
Felipe Franks. They'll lose a couple
not
games.
sure, but-
They'll finish like 8-4, 9-3. Auburn, Bo Nix is going to fall off the rails a little bit. They'll get sugar smacked by LSU and
Sugar
Alabama. I think Alabama, LSU, and Georgia are 3 very good football teams. I really, at this point, since Ethan kind of alluded to it earlier, I think the SEC is going to get 2 teams in the playoffs.
I think LSU is
I
going to
hate
win.
that.
I hate that too. I hate it, but that's
That
just
pains me
nature
to
of the
watch
beast.
it. That makes me not want to watch it.
Despite the game being at Alabama, I really like LSU's offense. Their defense is what it has been. I think LSU gets the West this year. Joe Burrow.
That's bold.
He's got great weapons.
Hot take. coming
Their
through.
defense is not that good. LSU, I don't think it's very good. They gave up 38 to Texas, and then they just gave up 33 to Vanderbilt in a game 38
Yeah.
to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt is bad. That's a bad football
Bad.
team. Vanderbilt,
Bad,
Tennessee
bad
this year
man.
is going to be
Even
just a
Georgia
tickle
gave
fight.
up quite a few points to Vanderbilt, though, in week 1, though, didn't they?
Georgia to
Or am I
Vanderbilt.
wrong?
I don't
One
know,
sec.
man.
I'm going wrong.
I don't
don't
think
know.
they gave up that many points. I think
Oh, no, 30-6.
yeah.
My bad.
But if you look at it, I don't know. I think LSU looks really good. Joe Burrow, man, he's probably Heisman favorite in my book right now. He looks really good.
What would be your top 3?
Heisman favorites?
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, Jonathan Taylor, and probably
I would go Hurts.
I was probably gonna say Hurts.
That would be my
yeah.
top 3 also.
Do you think they finally give the Heisman to a running back after
No.
so many years of it
Nope.
being quarterback?
It's gonna be an Oklahoma
Who's the
quarterback
last
again.
running back to win it?
Mark Ingram?
Mark
maybe?
Ingram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry won one, didn't he?
Oh, just totally squashed. Yeah, he did.
Back to back.
Unless Wisconsin
Alabama
makes the playoff.
running back.
Wisconsin won't make the playoffs. Wow.
If they
Stop that
do,
train right now.
Taylor could win the Heisman.
They will lose to Ohio State twice before they make the playoffs. That's gonna happen.
Really? Twice?
In the Big Ten championship and then at the shoe October 26th. But
Oh man.
did you have something, McGonigal?
Oh yeah,
you
I
looked
was
ready
looking,
to say something. I was just excited.
Looking, yeah, along with that, you're talking about that college football playoff discussion. One of the semifinals is in Atlanta, so we'll see if Georgia
Ooh, gets to
gets to, go,
host.
gets to literally host playing in Atlanta.
Because that happened with the championship game too. Alabama, Georgia was in Atlanta, wasn't
I
it?
know, yeah.
Okay, now
They'll do it for the money.
I
like
like
you said.
talking about the playoff. I think it's interesting because I can just
Expand
go off
it.
on a rant about how dumb it is and how biased it is.
Yep.
The selection of it is, and Ethan sounds like he's on the same page with me
Mhm.
here. When you look at it, it looks like right now there's probably going to be 5 teams for 4 spots. 2 SEC teams. Pick any of those 2 of the 3 that you think it's going to be. Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma. What are you leaving it? I don't think they're going to leave out an SEC team. I really don't. I
They
think
should.
Ohio State gets shafted again.
They should, and it should be that you can't have, unless it, even special circumstances, I don't think you should have 2 teams from the same conference because that means one team will have a loss. If you have an undefeated Alabama, an undefeated Clemson, an undefeated Ohio State, and an undefeated Oklahoma, yes, I know Oklahoma plays in the Big 12, and in the past, the Big 12 hasn't had a conference championship, or the Big 12 is not, they don't play defense. People don't want to watch defensive games. I would rather watch a college football playoff where it was this Pac-12 night game barn burner where it's 68-63 and that goes between Oklahoma and a Clemson or something like that. I don't think if there is 2 teams in the SEC, one's undefeated, one with a 1 loss, I don't think that 1 loss team should get in.
What if you're looking at a 1-loss Ohio State and then a 1-loss SEC? They're gonna
go money.
I think they're gonna go money there.
Yeah.
I was just
I
going to point
agree.
out that when they put that 2 SEC teams in,
That was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, they weren't putting them in over an undefeated team.
That was a different situation there.
Right.
But Big Ten hasn't made the playoffs now in 3 years.
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, and when they have been in the playoffs, they've been awful, barring that first year by Ohio State.
Yeah, well.
Like Michigan State got shut out. Ohio State had that
did
awful
too.
loss to Clemson.
Didn't they get shut out?
I think they did.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe the Big Ten made their own bed. Now they have to lie in it. But Pac-12 kind of gets. I think you can say screwed. They kind of get screwed on the air. Or never mind. They kind of get screwed sometimes as well. Same with Big 12. Big 12 was in it last year, but I think Big 12 adding a championship game was huge. But I don't know. That's the way I see it right now.
Well, the Pac-12 is pretty much already out, in my opinion.
Oregon. Did Oregon lose?
They lost to Auburn.
They lost to Auburn.
That's okay. And then Cal's undefeated. Cal's got a good defense. They beat Washington.
But
Washington's
they're
only
going to go with
losses to
strength of
Cal.
schedule.
Yeah.
The committee will look at strength of schedule and look at the Pac-12 and just go.
They will always put a 1-loss Ohio State or Oklahoma in.
Over an undefeated Cal?
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe not undefeated.
No,
Okay, I just
think
said
so.
undefeated Cal, and I just kind of okay, come on. That's
Chuckled.
unrealistic.
Do you really believe they're going to
No,
get
they're
defeated?
not.
No,
Justin
I don't.
Wilcox is kind of my guy. So.
Well, and we saw it with UCF, a team that you're not playing in a Power 5 conference. You're undefeated. You've got Mackenzie Milton, who's a Heisman, hopeful, and then you lose him. Boom, you're done. There's no chance of making the playoff. So, I don't think a Pac-12 school, unless it was a Washington State, if they somehow this season managed to go undefeated, but they're not going to because they already have 1 loss, where they can put up all that points. But then again, we're talking market. People aren't going to watch that at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night.
Pac-12 after dark. It was literally 1:30,
I
1:45.
was watching it in my bed, and I was just kind of dozing off, waking up.
I mean, it went on forever.
Every
so
time
many
you looked,
touchdowns.
someone was running down the field for a touchdown.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah,
high
that game was so
energy
long
football.
because they didn't run the clock out. They ran down the field for 30 seconds. They scored, and the next team did it, and then the next team did it. It was crazy.
Well, Washington State had the ball at the end, and they could have ran out the clock, and they threw the ball, and they got a first down, but they fumbled.
Yeah.
So then UCLA got the ball back, and then they scored a couple plays later, and it was like, okay.
Boom.
And then Chip Kelly was celebrating like he
Right.
wasn't already 0-3.
Yeah.
But, Chip Kelly. I kind of forget he's alive sometimes. He's
Chip Kelly.
alive
Well,
and coaching.
that's like Les Miles down in Kansas. Les Miles is
Forget
still
about
a
that one
thing,
too.
but
They have a winning record down there in Kansas.
they do.
Do you guys
For
watch
the-
that show on ESPN Plus, Miles
What?
to Go, about the Kansas football team?
I've not.
I saw a trailer for it where his phone was going off on the airplane, and he had 50 text messages in a row, and he was just kind of holding his phone right there, and he was like, "Huh, someone really needs to get a hold of me." And then he set his phone down. I was like, "Oh, that's how it works."
I'm out on that. Kansas football show sounds pretty terrible. But since you talked about UCF, I did want to touch on that game before we wrapped up college football talk. UCF loses for the first time in a regular season in forever. They probably should have won that game, but Pittsburgh went Philly on them at the end. It was a really entertaining back-and-forth game. UCF was down for most of the first half, came back, was leading by as many as 10, I want to say, before Pittsburgh came back. Is this an end of an era for UCF? And now I think Boise State is the presumed favorite now to be the representative for the group of 5 schools in the New Year's Six Bowl. Does UCF look at this as a tough loss, or are they just as an end of an era, or do they say, well, you know what, you got to lose at some point?
I think it could be end of an era here, because when you think about it, UCF, what they've been doing the past couple of years is they've been trying to get credibility with the rest of the nation, right? They've wanted to play with the big dogs. And undefeated 2 years in a row, really good, but then just you can't stumble, right? And that's what people have been pointing out is if they play a Power 5 schedule, they played Stanford and Pitt back-to-back weeks. I mean, that kind of proved everyone's point. If you play a Power 5 schedule every week, you're not going to go undefeated. And that was kind of proven the past 2 weeks with a win and then a tough loss.
McGonigal, UCF losing for the first time since Scott Frost was there. Thoughts?
I just think, I mean, you can't win them all. And, I mean, at least I like how they're going out and scheduling people. They're not just putting 12 cupcakes on the schedule and calling the playoff committee and say, where's our spot? But, yeah, I think I appreciate that they're going out and playing people and they're really showing who they are. And I think, they were really complaining a few years back why they weren't in the playoff. But then you took a look at their schedule. But now I think, now they're going to play Pac-12 schools. Now they're going to play ACC schools. I think UCF is really trying to put themselves out there and on the map the right way.
Ethan, you might have a more personal connection to UCF. I don't know. Do you feel that? As a Husker fan, do you feel that, McGonigal? You're a Husker fan, right? Do you feel like a personal connection to UCF like some Husker fans do?
I don't.
Okay, because I think that's a little weird.
Really.
Like,
I personally don't.
Not really.
I mean, Scott Frost built that school up from the bottom, but still, I don't think it's an end of an era because I don't think their program's going to completely fall off the map after one loss. Yes, they're not going to ever get that validity that they wanted, that we can be in a New Year's Six Bowl, or we can. Well, they were in a New Year's Six Bowl. They played Auburn, right?
They won.
They've been in a New Year's Six back-to-back years.
They
Back-to-back
lost
years.
LSU last year.
Yeah.
But I think that program will be just fine. What Scott Frost instilled there, I mean, players from Florida want to go play at UCF. But yeah, I don't know. You're right when you say that you can't stumble. You can't if you're going to try to make a run at the college football playoff and give the committee something to look at. You can't misstep at all throughout the entire season, and losing to Pitt, that's a big one.
And maybe Boise State does stumble and UCF sneaks back into the New Year's Six and they win it. Say that happens and then maybe they go undefeated next year, but even then, I mean, Dylan Gabriel's just a freshman and he looks really good at quarterback, but I don't know. Does winning the rest of their games, Boise State stumbling, and a New Year's Six win, does that do anything to get them back a little validity?
I don't even their validity. I think Ethan said it's not gone. Like they're still a very good school, and they're probably going to be a ranked team by the end of the year anyway. But I think maybe missing out on a New Year's Six Bowl, and if they could have went undefeated somehow another year in a row, how do you leave them out again? Especially if there's like some craziness at the top, like there was in 2017. But I don't know. I think it's just kind of disappointing, like for fans, especially for the fans of the little guy, like Group of 5 homers. Like UCF was kind of their guy who was going to bat for him. So moving on here, because we talked a lot about the playoff, which is fine because that's more fun than really anything. Yeah. But we got to pick a couple games this weekend, and we're rolling out something a little bit new for you this week. I think we're calling it, what are we calling it? Running totals? We'll call it running totals. That's what I just came up with because that's fun. Unless you had something, McGonigal.
No, yeah.
Thank you, Ethan.
Running totals, like it.
Well, first we got to pick our 3 games for the weekend before we do our running totals segment. Let's start with Virginia Notre Dame. Virginia, maybe the second best team in ACC behind Clemson. They're number 18 in the country. Notre Dame, we've talked about that game against Georgia. McGonigal, we'll start with you. Does Virginia have a shot going into Indiana this weekend and beat Notre Dame?
I think Notre Dame will be ready to go after a loss. They're going to be want to get back. So I really think, and then this is the first big true road test for Virginia. So I think Virginia's going to kind of panic in that environment. I think the Irish win pretty handily.
Ethan, Virginia have a shot?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go yes just because of the fact that maybe Notre Dame took a little, punch to the face there, punch to the jaw. Realized that, maybe they can't compete with these SEC schools. And I don't know if it'll be a blowout, but I think Virginia keeps it close. And I think in the past they've kept that game close as well. If they've played, Notre Dame plays down to their opponents.
That's true.
I'll say that much. They'll play down to their opponents, and then when they're supposed to play up to their opponent, like in Alabama in the college football playoff, they don't. So I think on any given day, anybody can beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch this one because I think if Virginia really is going to be that team in the ACC, and they could face Clemson in the ACC championship game. I believe they're in different sides of the conference. This would be a good test to see just where they're at. And so if Virginia can hang in this game, even win it, that'd be huge for the ACC because they don't have much doing outside of that. That being said, I think Notre Dame wins by a field goal, maybe playing a little bit down to Virginia, maybe something like 27-24. Delperdang?
I agree with Wolbach. I think Notre Dame, that was a punch in the gut. As we talked about early, maybe their college football playoff hopes are gone. Virginia coming in 4-0. Bryce Perkins has looked pretty good. I think Virginia keeps it pretty close. I'll go with you, Ben. I think Notre Dame wins by a field goal or a touchdown.
27-24. You want to go with that with me? We can do
sure.
it together. Okay, cool. Other ranked versus ranked matchup this weekend, Washington and USC. That one is up in Seattle, I believe. Yes, it is.
Yes, sir.
Washington had that weird loss to Cal within the Lightning and stuff. Got moved to basically like 2:30 in the morning Eastern time, or maybe even Central time. Anyway, it was a late one. Jacob Eason, though, has looked good otherwise, other than that game against Cal. And then you already talked about USC's carousel of quarterbacks. Delperdang, we'll start with you. Does USC continue this crazy run of quarterbacks and go into Washington, pull off the upset?
I don't think they'll pull the upset. It will be Matt Fink's first road game, first start in a really good environment there in Seattle. I think the USC can keep it close, but I think Jacob Eason will be too much at home, and I think Washington wins by about a touchdown.
Wolbach, Washington, USC, who you got?
I'm going to go USC. I think this third-string kid finally gets to see the limelight. He finally gets to, get to play under the lights for, if you're a third string at a, big school like that, it's not because you didn't have offers anywhere else. It's because you want to play there. So I think now that he's got his shot, I think he's going to shine.
I'm going to go Washington. I love Jacob Eason. I love Coach Peterson. I don't think USC plays well on offense at all. I think they don't even make double digits. I think Washington wins this one big, 31-7. How about that?
Wow, the line's only 9.5.
Yeah, that's right. Washington's going to smoke them. McGonigal, you with me? Plenty of room on this Washington bandwagon.
Yeah, I think USC is going to be a little slow after a big win. So I think the Huskies will take care of business. I say 34-17.
Okay.
Huskies.
Okay. I like it. All right, moving on. I think we have to talk about this game because it's so regionally important, and I've already heard from about 12 people that they're going to be going to game day on Saturday.
Yeah.
College game day for the first time in 12 years rolls into Nebraska. And the second time they're in the Midwest within the last 2-3 weeks. And Owen Goberson, who's in the room, is just very excited. I don't know what he's excited about per se.
Ohio State's going to massacre Nebraska.
I was going to say the same thing, but
Not even going to be close. It's
No.
I will bet it's more than 5 touchdowns.
35 points you're going to say we're going to lose by?
Yes.
I wouldn't
Not
be
a
shocked.
chance.
I'm thinking shades of what year was that, where it was like 52-3 at the shoe. Justin Fields
come
looks
on.
so good
Wisconsin game a few years ago.
against Nebraska.
Yeah.
There was one that was like
59-17.
70-31. Yeah.
Didn't somebody come into Nebraska and put up like 72 on them at some point?
Ohio State,
Big Ten championship, 70-31.
one of the best days of my life, but I mean, that was
Oh,
just
yeah,
a
I
crazy
bet for
game.
you.
That's a
Melvin
low
Gordon,
day.
Monte Ball, that was a good game. Anyway, a lot of emotions in this game for a lot of people in this room because you either love Nebraska in this room or you hate Nebraska. We'll start with one of those loves. Ethan, does Nebraska have a shot of pulling off this upset?
If they want to pull off this upset, they need to wear their underwear inside out. They need to do their happy dance. They need to do something to make sure that they can win this game. I mean, they're an 18-point underdog at home with game day. So that's hard to really wrap my head around. I mean, I'm not shocked because Ohio State and Justin Fields are just that good. But if I'm looking at it here, I mean, Nebraska, I don't think we lose by 35.
35.
I think this game, I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be, I don't know, 42-35. If anything, I think Nebraska loses by a touchdown or two.
Matt Kirkle just walked in as well.
I don't think it's bad.
And Matt Kirkle says Nebraska does have a shot. And so, Matt, does Nebraska pull off the upset here?
You know, I'm kind of in the same boat that Ethan Swalback's in. I think that given the environment going into the game, you know, the first time Nebraska's had game day since 2007, I think that's going to add a little bit of extra. You know, it's going to make the atmosphere more electric. I think that and also the fact that Illinois gave Nebraska a game last week, I think that actually plays into Nebraska's favor because I think Nebraska is going to be a little more cognizant of that. We kind of saw it after they struggled against South Alabama in that first half of the Colorado game. Nebraska was playing pretty lights out on both sides of the ball. You know, obviously the result of that Colorado game was not what Nebraska wanted, but you know, we've seen Nebraska struggle, and then the next game they fix a lot of those mistakes that they made in the previous game. So I think the fact that Nebraska turned the ball over 4 times against Illinois and struggled a lot and ended up sneaking away with a win, I think that's going to make them play a little sharper this week. And then, you know, last year we saw a struggling Nebraska team go into Columbus to play Ohio State, who was still in the top 10. And Nebraska actually put together a pretty good performance. They still lost, but, you know, they made it a game for 4 quarters. And what'd you say, 42-35 was your prediction?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say my final score prediction is going to be 45-35 Ohio State.
Okay.
I think Ohio State's going to get up their fair share of points. I think Nebraska's going to get a few big plays. But ultimately, I think Ohio State still has a significant advantage, obviously. But I think Nebraska's going to come ready to play. I think game day, like I said, is going to add a little bit of extra electricity to the game. But I'm going Buckeyes by 10.
How about the star-studded guests walking into first warning? We've been blessed with Owen Goberson and Matt Kirkle. What a great morning.
What happens if Nebraska wins this game? Does Lincoln explode? Are the fans that have had season tickets since the very beginning, are 90-year-olds with walkers going to be charging the field?
I think we're going to have people start shoveling the frogs off the street because it's going to be the apocalypse.
I'm tipping cars in Lincoln. I'm tipping cars all day.
We'll break some a little bit less of a Nebraska fan in here. And Jack Delperdang, Jack, how do you see this one going?
I'm pretty much completely with Owen on this one. I think Justin Fields is way too much on offense. They have way too many weapons. I see shades of 2017 when it was 56-14. Go back to 2016, 62-3. Ohio State didn't punt. I don't think it will be that bad, but I think it'll be something like 59-17 or 21.
I was going to say, yeah.
I like Ohio State big in this one.
I don't shy away from it. I'm not a Nebraska fan. I don't like Nebraska. I really
Then leave.
I probably should. I just don't really. Everything about living here, not being a Nebraska fan, is kind of like, okay, we get it. Nebraska was really good in the 90s. Okay, let's move on. So anyway, I'm trying to take my bias out of this, and I really don't
94, 95, 97.
undefeated seasons. Tom Osborne. I had a teacher last night just start talking about Tom Osborne randomly, and I'm like, dude, it's like 8:30. I want to go. Like, Tom Osborne was good. I get it, but like he's gone.
In bed. He's asleep.
Oh, I'm tired, man.
He took a sleepy time tea.
Yeah, but anyway, taking my biases out of it as much as I can. Ohio State has looked way better than I thought they have, or I thought they were going to be. Justin Fields has looked really good. They haven't played anybody super good, but how about the way they beat Cincinnati, who was perceived to be one of the best Group of 5 schools out there? They beat them handily. It wasn't even a shot. And they have not played down to their competition at all, which is what sometimes can happen with these non-con games. Ohio State, this is on the road. I think Urban Meyer, before he left, liked going into other people's stadiums and just beating the snot out of them. I think he took better I think he took more enjoyment in winning road games than he did home games. That's why sometimes we saw Ohio State struggle at home against like Indiana or whatever. But man, the way Nebraska looked on defense against Illinois on the second play of the game, giving up that big of a touchdown, or the way Illinois was throwing the football against Nebraska, or Colorado, the way they gave it up second half. Even in the games, even the way Martinez was throwing the ball against South Alabama, and who'd they beat? Northern Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
But he was airmailing J.D. Spielman. He's just leaving him high and dry in the middle of the field. He's actually going to get hurt this week if he throws it like that. I don't see this one going very well for Nebraska. I think Ohio State's too fast. They got too many good skill position players. I'm thinking somewhere in the realm of like 56-21. 35 was a good number by Owen.
I think Nebraska's going to keep it interesting.
Yeah, buddy.
I think they're going to keep it interesting. I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll keep it interesting. I think it'll be a tight first half, but then Ohio State's kind of grind them out in the second half. Matt touched on a good point. Game day, it's going to be fired up in Lincoln from 6 a.m. all the way till 6 a.m. Sunday morning.
I will say, last time they were at game day, it was
07 USC,
and it was
right?
an awful game.
It was
right?
a bad game. Yeah.
I mean, it was still an electric atmosphere, but
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how Justin Fields reacts to the first true road game.
that's true.
90,000 fans under the bright lights. We'll see if Fields gets a little pressured up, or is he okay? So I just think Nebraska, yeah, they'll keep it interesting, but Buckeyes 42-31.
I think if the Davis brothers, the Davis twins, and then Darian Daniels get into the backfield and pressure Justin Fields early, he hasn't felt pressure. I mean, yes, I believe he fumbled the ball against who they play this last week.
Tulsa?
They played Indiana, right?
No, it wasn't.
Ohio.
Miami, Ohio.
Oh,
He
yeah.
fumbled the
Miami,
ball
Ohio.
in the end zone. Miami, Ohio got a safety. Okay, I'm not going to say that's, wow, Justin Fields isn't as good
He's
as we think he
broken.
is. Yeah, no. But I think if, our front 3 and 4 can get into the backfield early, and I mean, JoJo Doman just got a black shirt, so he's going to be playing his heart out in Lincoln in front of, 90,000 fans. I really think these players are going to be amped up for it. I know Scott Frost is a level-headed guy, and you see him on the sidelines sometimes get excited, but really he's just really calm and collected. But I think he lets his players play with their hearts on their chests and just play lights out. I mean, I think they have something to prove to not only Scott Frost, but, the country as a whole, that they might be as, he's going to make them as good as he made UCF. But I see this game almost getting chippy because of the atmosphere that both teams are playing in. And if it does get close, if it stays close for a while, I think it could become down to a real just a slugfest. Who's going to hit harder first?
Well, regardless of what happens, two of us are going to be walking into Tuesday very excited about what happened, and two of us are
I'm
going to
not
be
showing
very...
up if it's that bad.
If it's that bad, I just don't know. It's hard to get any sort of opinion in where we live without
That's
somebody
true.
having emotional investment in
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And this is
Husker football.
obviously
Yeah.
Adrian Martinez's biggest game of his career, and I think he's going to really have to
He's
throw
only a
the
sophomore.
ball. He's going to have to throw the ball around the yard to keep up with Ohio State. And I don't think Nebraska will be able to run the ball at all.
Really?
Ohio
Even
State-
The
with-
running backs have looked good for
Ohio
Nebraska.
State's defensive line, they're tenacious.
That's true.
But
They're
here's
a
the thing:
lot.
we don't run north and south. We run it east and west. If we get the corner on them, then it'll be, game over.
If they can get Robinson or Washington to the edge, I think Nebraska has a decent shot of getting some ground against Ohio State. But that being said, they do have a very tenacious front seven, and that's going to be interesting to watch. We could talk about Nebraska football probably the rest of the day. Maybe we should just talk about Nebraska football on college radio today because it seems like we have enough people who want to talk about it. But
Oh yeah, we could talk about that.
we got to
for
get
a
to
while.
NFL, and I'm sure we want to touch on baseball as well because things
do.
are heating up. But we're going to come back with the NFL. The Bears are back.
No.
The Dolphins are bad. And Gardner Minshew is king. This is First Warning, MavRadio.fm.
And welcome back to First Warning. Ben Helwig stepped out to handle something for capstone class. Don't blame him at all. It's going to be a tough class once I get there. But I'm Ethan Wolbach. Next to me, we got Jack McGonigal and Jack Delperdang. We are moving into NFL football. Let's see. What are we going to talk about first? We want to talk about how Ben said the Bears are back. The Dolphins are bad.
Daniel Jones.
The Patriots play nobody. Eli's done.
Dan the man.
Danny Dimes.
Okay, you guys have taken it. Daniel Jones, the Giants. Who's going to take it away?
Let the Giants fan do it.
Yeah. Daniel Jones, he opened a lot of people's eyes. A lot of people around draft time were saying, "Oh, this is a bad draft pick. This kid's a bust." But he looked good. I think the Giants, he looks like young Eli Manning, young, kind of the way he plays, just a new and transformed Eli Manning. But there is a downside. No Saquon for 8 weeks. So
I saw that high ankle
no
sprain.
Barkley
That's
for 8
hard.
weeks. So we're gonna have to really rely on. But the wide receivers look good. Starling Shepard, Evan Engram. I think Evan Engram had 23 fantasy points for me this week.
You guys get Golden Tate back in 2 weeks, 1 week.
I think with Daniel Jones, super accurate quarterback, doesn't have a lot of incompletions. And then the Giants got the Redskins this week, which is a winnable game. So I think the Giants could be 500 after this week. They could be 2-2. But yeah, a historic comeback for the Giants franchise, getting that first win for Jones.
It should not have been a win.
Should not have been a win
Not
by
at
all
all.
means at all.
They were down 28-10 at half.
Down 28-10 at half, and then missed the 34-yarder to lose the game.
Yeah.
The Bucs did. But
Because
the
of
Bucs
a delay?
They took a delay of game. What was that?
Because
Bruce Arians took a delay game.
he thought his kicker was better from deeper. I was like, what do you...
5 yards, 29 and 34. Mid-range is mid-range.
He had missed
that
two
was
earlier
insane.
in the game from pretty close. So
Bucs have
maybe-
had kicking problems for the last 2-3 years. They just can't find that one true kicker.
Carly Lloyd.
Yeah,
Question
honestly.
mark.
I have to call her up after that.
He had played a lot of that game without Barkley, though, and I think Daniel Jones looked really good.
Well, he was running it on the ground himself.
Yeah, did you guys see Barkley hopping over after they won the game?
I did
Yeah.
see that on
that?
Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to celebrate with them. If I'm the Giants owner, I'm saying get your butt back on the sideline because if we lose you for more than 8 weeks,
You
we're
are
just
our
kinda
franchise
screwed. Yeah, you
player.
are
Yeah.
a franchise player. Yeah.
Yeah, he looked really good on the ground, scrambling when he needs to. 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a smart quarterback, too. Doesn't make a lot of dumb decisions. So I like him. From a Giants perspective, nobody liked him, but I've liked him from the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, it was impressive to see, absolutely. Having a quarterback that's able to run and not just stay in the pocket and take a sack like Eli Manning's been
He
doing
doesn't
in the
look like
past.
a runner either, if you look at
No,
him.
he doesn't. He
Eli
looks like
was
an
a
Eli
statue.
Manning clone,
Yeah.
and he's just more athletic. And I think this is the door closing on Eli Manning's career. I don't think he goes to a different team. I don't think Daniel Jones loses this starting job. I think Eli Manning is done in
after
NFL
this year,
football.
I think he'll be done.
I think
He
Daniel
needs to
Jones
go-
starts the rest of the games, and I think Eli retires at the end of the year.
He needs to
I
go
I
do
would
some
agree,
Papa
yeah.
John's commercials and be an analyst on CBS and, everything else that you can do after you're an NFL quarterback for so many years that.
Yeah, sounds like he definitely wants to stay in football once he's out of playing.
And he should. I mean,
He'd be a good coach.
see, and I think Peyton Manning would have been a better coach than Eli. And Peyton decided not to go into coaching. So I don't like that Eli coach. I
Maybe
just
he
don't know if it would work.
Maybe he joins Peyton in those commercials
I think so.
with Brad Paisley, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
What is that though? What
Isn't he a nationwide guy? Or
Yeah.
Nationwide is on your side.
Oh, yeah.
Not a sponsor.
Not
here,
endorsing
you don't know.
anything.
Yeah.
Nope, not endorsing anything. Just quoting a commercial there. So as we move across the rest of the NFL, what else stood out for you guys? I mean, shocking or just solidifying. What about Teddy Bridgewater down in New Orleans getting a win against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks? Russell Wilson had 41
For your
fantasy
first win,
points.
that backup quarter, that's a big win in Seattle.
That is
tough
huge.
atmosphere, yeah.
Rainy, loud.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Kamara didn't miss a beat. Michael Thomas didn't miss a
no,
beat.
and that's where a lot of people were worried. I actually had a guy in my fantasy league that did not start Kamara because he didn't think that Teddy Bridgewater was going to be able to give him the amount of targets and looks. I said, why would you do that?
See, I was completely the opposite. I was on more like they would try to get him more involved in the short passing game with Breeze out because
just to give Bridgewater some confidence.
Right, yeah.
That's crazy to me. But that was a really good win. And I mean, that game really wasn't even close until the fourth quarter.
No, Russell Wilson kind of got him back into it by himself.
The Seahawks scored a touchdown in the first quarter, and then they didn't score anything in the second or third, and then really I'd call them 20 garbage points touchdowns. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 throwing touchdowns, passing touchdowns. But, I think that is a real just good, a feel good for the Saints, and especially Saints fans, because I'm sure when Drew Brees, they heard he had to get surgery, they were like, oh, crap. Like, here goes. Potentially could be Brees' one of his last 2 years, potentially his last year, and we just put our season in the hands of Teddy Bridgewater, who is the highest paid backup quarterback in the NFL, might I add. So it's not like, okay, they're throwing some scrub out there. He is a proven quarterback. It's just he's never proved himself at the NFL level.
And we were talking about last week on the show about Big Ben and Breeze, and we kind of went through the schedules of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they said Breeze was going to be out about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So we took a look at the Saints' schedule and what they had coming up. And I said if they could go 3-3 and tread water in the NFC South, that would be a success for them. I had the Seahawks as a loss, as one of the 3 losses.
Really? Okay.
So if you can go 4-2 without Drew Brees, I also had them losing against Dallas this weekend and I believe Chicago in a couple weekends.
Dallas looks good.
But if they can, 4-2 without Drew Brees, and then you have a bye week and Brees back.
Yeah.
No one's running away in that division. Kyle Allen is now starting for the Panthers.
Yeah.
The Bucks just lost to the Giants.
And
Atlanta.
Falcons, I can't figure them out if they're
tread
good
water
or
and
not.
get Drew Brees back, and I think the Saints will be fine.
I really don't think any team is going to run away with any division. I know.
The Pats.
Well, the Pats play nobody. They've yet to play a team with a win.
And the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs run away, too.
Well, the Chiefs are. Let's see. The Chiefs won this weekend, and everybody else in their division lost.
I want to talk about that game.
Actually, I do too.
Let's talk about it right now. I love it. I was so happy that I started McCole Hardman in fantasy. 2 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. I was like, what? He played only 63% of the snaps.
The thing that stuck out to me was the coaching decisions by John Harbaugh.
Oh, yeah.
He went for 2 on both times, and he got Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
One of the greatest kickers in the league history, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd put him up there.
He's a for sure guy, and I don't know why they're going for 2.
Forward on 4th downs, he just has that much trust in Lamar Jackson. But again, you got Justin Tucker, and 33-28, 2 extra points and a field goal. Look at the score now.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked
Whole different
about
ball game.
I talked about last week that I thought that these 2 teams were going to be both really good this year, and I said maybe that this game could be the tiebreaker for determining who could be the 2 seed in the AFC.
Yeah.
I think Kansas City really has a leg up right now. Patrick Mahomes, he looks so good, man. People said he might regress coming to this year. I would argue he looks better.
What I like seeing is, so here he is, 27 of 37, 374 yards.
Spreads the ball around.
Three touchdowns, yep, all the different receivers. And then he only has 1 sack the entire game.
Yeah.
His ability to just scramble and just make plays happen. They were talking about before the game, Lamar Jackson is so much more athletic than Patrick Mahomes. On 2 of the plays, I think it was a 3rd down and then a 4th down where Lamar Jackson was scrambling. He just chucked up a Hail Mary ball, and his wide receiver just happened to come down with it. It went right through Tyrann Mathieu's hands on one of them. I think it was the 4th down.
He's still really reckless out
it's
there.
Just people believed in Lamar Jackson, but who'd they play? They played the Dolphins, and then they played the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you beat 2 subpar teams
2
in
of the worst
NFL.
10. Yeah.
You just now played a team that made it to the AFC Championship game and was an offsides penalty away from making it to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry you're not as good as people think you are, because you just showed it. You didn't have any touchdowns. You really were scrambling for your life against
he was running for his life on some of those.
Frank Clark, Chris Jones. It was just, he didn't look like a composed quarterback out there. And, everyone's going to say, oh, well, the Chiefs this, the Chiefs that. Lamar Jackson did not impress me in the slightest. I really don't think. I think throughout the rest of this year, he's not going to have as good of games as he had to start the year.
He had a nice TD run there down the side, though. That little spin move into the end zone. Did you see that?
Yeah, that is true, but then again, they called him a running back.
Yeah, no
so.
one's ever
Yeah, I know.
questioned his legs. The thing is that is he going to be able to throw the ball when a team puts pressure on him? Kansas City, though, I mean, once you get Tyreek Hill back, I mean, even without him, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, and Sammy Watkins, they're all deep threats.
Yeah.
And they can just run down the field and score on any play. Patrick Mahomes is one of the most accurate deep ball throwers, if not the most in the league. And then when they get Tyreek Hill back, that's 4 legit wide receivers. That's even going to help Travis Kelce more across the middle.
And Travis Kelce had the most receptions on the team with 7.
7, yep.
And now we have LaShawn McCoy, who is actually looking like a little bit of the LaShawn McCoy from old. Yes, he's lost a little step here and there, but think about throwing Shady out there, and then, okay, he made a big run, he's gassed. You still throw out Damian Williams out there, and he proved himself last year in the postseason. I mean, this Chiefs offense is just so good, and there's so many ways that they could hit you. And we heard, correct me if I'm wrong, Earl Thomas, is he on the Ravens?
Yeah, he said,
he's going to try to eliminate the big plays.
Yeah.
You can't, because you don't know where they're going to hit from.
And you can only control one side of the field, too.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw with McCole Hardman. He had 2 receptions and 97 yards. One reception was like 83 yards.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm watching my fantasy score. I'm like, okay, he's got 1 reception. Then, boom, he's got, 14 points. I'm just like, what is going on? Like, you don't know where they're going to hit you from. And if this defense can – manage to get stops here and there, because Kansas City's offense can outscore anybody in the league. I can guarantee it. But if their defense can get a stop, maybe a early first quarter stop and a late fourth quarter stop, and Kansas City just keeps scoring, there's not a team that they can't beat in this entire league. I think they can beat – right now they could beat Tom Brady. I really do.
To me, their season pretty much comes down to that. Can they stop Tom Brady in the playoffs? Because
they'll play in the regular. They play in the regular season in Foxborough.
Yeah, and we played them last year in Foxborough. Or last year or 2 years ago? I think it was
last year, but then 2 years ago was that crazy.
Wasn't the AFC Championship game in Arrowhead?
Yeah.
It was.
No, week 1 2 years ago remember it was Chiefs Patriots 1 year to open up the season.
Yes.
That was 2 years ago, and the Chiefs beat them.
And they did beat them. They beat them handily.
With Alex Smith, right?
Yeah, that was
yeah,
Smith.
it was Smith. But now look, old friend alert, I did see Alex Smith was walking without crutches, without anything at the Redskins game. So after that terrible accident he had, really just blowing up his knee.
Yeah,
it was good to
gruesome.
see him. It was good to see him walking under his own power, and I don't think he'll ever play football again, but just glad that his health is,
absolutely
still on the climb. I guess moving throughout the rest of the league, we all wanted to talk about the Chiefs game. What else do we talk about? The Bears? The Bears defense, Khalil Mack having 2 forced fumbles and 2 sacks.
2 picks.
They took up. The Bears defense put up like 24 fantasy points. You were telling me, Delperdang, that a guy in your league was up 18, and the guy he's facing had the Bears defense, and he lost.
They got 20. Yeah. They had a pick 6, another pick. Had both, I think.
Team I can't figure out San Francisco. Are they legit or not? They're 3-0, but they've played.
Who have they played so far?
Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, and Cincinnati.
Nope, I don't think they've proven themselves yet.
Those are 3 teams that are not even going to get close to the playoffs.
And which the thing is, this is their bye week this week.
Already,
yeah.
I don't understand the bye weeks this early in the year. I really don't. I don't think your guys have taken a beating to the point where they need a break.
No.
I'd take a bye week in week,
But now
8,
you got
9,
week
or
4,
10.
then you got to go play 13 consecutive weeks.
Yeah, I don't like that call.
Jets and Tampa Bay bye week this week.
Who did they play week 5?
Browns
Browns
on Monday Night
Browns.
Football.
Oh
Which
my gosh.
The Browns have played a Monday Night Football game and a Sunday Night Football game already, and then they play a Monday Night Football game again next weekend. Tell me NFL wasn't all on the hype train this
No, they
offseason.
100% were on money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no getting around that.
No, absolutely not.
And
They're
I don't know.
1-2.
I don't think they should be that hyped up.
They're 1-2.
Baker Mayfield has regressed. He does
Oh,
not.
big time.
He does not look at
Sophomore
all like
slump
he did
much?
last year. Yeah.
I mean, come on. So as we move into, we've only got a half hour left here. We still want to talk about baseball because it is coming to October here.
Touchdown games this next weekend.
Yep, we're going to move to week 4 here. The Thursday night game is the Eagles at the Packers. Who wins that one?
Green Bay.
Green
Yeah.
Bay?
It'll be a good game, though.
Yeah.
Green Bay, like 34-21 or something like that.
Okay.
The Eagles secondary just isn't very good, and I think
No, Eagles give up a lot of big plays.
Devontae Adams hasn't had a really good start to the year, but I think this is the game he blows up.
Okay.
I think he has a big game.
As we move into teams that are undefeated, the Patriots face the Bills. The Bills
3-0,
are 3-0. Who wins that one?
Legit 3-0 against fake 3-0. I like New England.
New
big.
England, yep.
Okay, and then we got Chiefs at the Lions. Matt Stafford finally playing like a quarterback that deserves to be paid the amount he is, but
KC, Detroit will find a way to lose.
they'll find a way to lose that game. I'm going to agree with that one.
Agreed.
And then as we move down,
Skipped to Monday night, 0-3 and 0-3. I don't think they saw that coming.
I don't want to watch that game at
Not me
all.
neither.
That makes me sad for next Monday's work shift
and
because
they
usually
can't-
I'll watch Monday Night Football.
They can't flex it
I'm
out.
interested. I'm
because
interested for the Sunday night football game, Dallas, New Orleans,
That should be good, and it'll be interesting.
in the dome too.
Just because of the fact that, yes, where it's at. The Cowboys are 3-0. They have been looking good. What's crazy to me is that Zeke and Pollard, the running backs for Dallas, both look really good.
They're like splitting. They're splitting more time than I thought.
You
they would.
can throw them both out there and be confident in the running back position. I mean, it is professional, so you should have at least two guys
a
that are
competent backup.
as good as
Yeah.
they the first string. But this will be, if we thought Teddy Bridgewater facing Seattle in Seattle was a test, I think facing the Cowboys is even going to be another test. He's not going to stop facing tests
No.
until Drew Brees comes back.
And Dak Prescott, on the other hand, really his first test of the year, having faced the Dolphins, the Redskins, and the Giants.
Yeah.
Who could arguably, we don't know how Daniel Jones will do, but that could be 3 of the worst teams in the league right there.
Well, that's crazy. We're talking about teams that, we're talking about just a minute ago, the 49ers. They've played nobody, and they're not really proven. We just read off the Cowboys' schedule. They really haven't played
I do
anybody.
think Dallas
but
is
we're hyping
legit,
them up.
though.
You
Absolutely.
think they are legit?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think they'll win this game. I think
The line is 2.5, so
2.5
close.
for Dallas.
yeah, for
Okay.
Dallas. Tickets as low as 171 if you want to travel down to the Bayou.
I'll take that to the bank.
Another
I like Dallas.
another game I'm interested in is the NFC North battle, Minnesota-Chicago.
I do like that one. Both
That'll be
really good
good.
defenses.
Yeah,
Um,
good game.
What
Low
a
scoring,
horrible
I think.
quarterback matchup. Oh, my gosh. I'm a Vikings fan, and I don't know how we're going to move the ball because,
Well, Dalvin Cook looks really good.
yeah, but the Bears' run defense is
It's
going to
really
stuff
good.
him. And then they have Eddie Jackson in the back end. I know we have Thielen and Diggs and Irv Smith and Rudolph have looked good, but, man, I just don't trust Kirk Cousins in big games.
And it is at Chicago in
Yeah.
Soldier Field. I like Minnesota's chances just because this isn't a night game in Chicago.
Okay.
If it's a night game, say this is the Sunday night
Prime
game.
time.
Prime time, I don't think they stand a chance because I think that city rallies around the Bears so well. But I don't know if the Bears. So I picked up the Vikings defense just because of them facing the Bears. I'm like, Mitchell Trubisky,
Yeah.
he'll throw a couple picks. But after the Bears defense last night, I might start him against Kirk Cousins. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they might get torn apart by Dalvin Cook. Somehow he goes off. But the Bears defense is good. The Vikings defense is good. I think this game could go 17-14, just real
Yeah.
small. Could even go to an overtime game. But like you said, McGonigal, that is a really good game to watch as well.
And last year, to your point about it not being a Sunday night game, I believe they played at Soldier Field last year on Sunday night, and Cousins had, I believe, 3 or 4 interceptions, 1 pick six, couple garbage time touchdowns. I
Yeah.
mean, the Vikings really got destroyed in that game because of Cousins, but
So
I think this one will be close, but
consensus,
I'll give it to the Bears.
give it to the Bears. McGonigal.
Vikings.
Ooh.
I'm going to go Minnesota. 17-14.
17-14, and I'm going to go Bears 17-14.
I saw a stat that was the NFC North is undefeated outside of the division.
I saw that tweet from our sports faculty advisor, Andrew Stem, if he's listening. I don't know if he gets up this early to
Okay.
listen or not. But that is, a division that is good.
Yeah, the Packers beating the Vikings and the Bears
Yeah.
on the road and at home against the Vikings. So the Packers look good.
The Packers do look good. Aaron Rodgers, if he stays healthy, I think the Packers do well. But then again, somebody always seems to get to Aaron Rodgers in the
Yeah.
backfield and pop, there goes a collarbone, pop, there goes a shoulder, something. So that Packers offensive line just needs to stand tall and protect his blind side, because they've seen in the past that once Rodgers goes down,
Sometimes he doesn't get up.
yeah,
honestly.
yeah, there you go.
2 years ago, it was a collarbone in Minneapolis in October, I believe. Anthony Barr landed on him. And then last year, he got injured against Chicago in the first game, but he did come back, and then he got hurt like week 6 or 7.
He is injury
And
prone.
then, yeah. You would think that they would trade for a better backup, like Bridgewater or something, because Rodgers does get hurt. I believe their backup is Brett Hundley.
Yeah, still
Or maybe
from
he
UCLA.
got traded and it's Kaiser. One of them got
well, still.
traded, but
Yeah, still not a guy that you can,
Yeah.
not a guy that's proven himself
Exactly.
in the NFL yet. And, with the Packers being undefeated, say something does happen. As a manager, as an owner, you don't want to waste the season because you don't have a good backup. So that'll be interesting to see if Rodgers can stay healthy throughout the rest of the year. Do we think the Dolphins will go completely defeated this year? Are they going 0-16?
They'll win one game.
One game.
1-15.
Is it this game against the Chargers?
Yes.
They
Ooh.
win this week, and that's it. The rest.
Actually, no. I think they will win at home against the Jets right there. After that Steelers game.
Okay.
Jets-Dolphins. Who's ready for that?
I just hope it's not a.
I'm calling week 16. They get it
Week
at the very
16.
end against the Bengals at home.
Oh, really?
That could actually be. I might
Bengals-
switch my pick on that.
The Bengals are not good.
Let's have a Miami Miracle and then beat the Patriots the last week of the season.
That would be so funny.
I would love that.
Especially
Second
if the-
string New England Patriots.
you look
Especially
at
if
this
the
here-
Patriots were 16-0 or something.
They have Miami has the worst point differential known to mankind.
By a lot.
16 points is what they've scored here
Yeah.
in 3 games. They've given up 133. Are you kidding me?
Even if you look at the other 0-3 teams like the Steelers, the Bengals,
it's
the
not that
Redskins,
bad.
No, they're
No.
they're at least kind of in the game.
Ryan Fitzpatrick right now is the 2019 team leader in the quarterback position. Guess what his QBR is? Don't look at my screen. What's his QBR?
Like in the 50s.
Lower.
41.
Lower.
36.
18.8.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's real. Receiving yards, the top guy, Preston Williams with 155 and
Josh
one
Rosen
touchdown.
played last week. What was his QBR? If you still got that screen up.
Let me see here. Josh Rosen. I got to go up to the Cowboys game. Go over to stats. Come on. Looking it up here. His QBR was 39.
Okay.
39, but he's only played 1 game, so ESPN
Yeah.
doesn't give him leader stats
He's
there.
not qualified.
So, as we have Jack McGonigal leaving to go to class, it is just
The two of us.
the 2 of us. Like last semester, the Jack and Ethan show for Radio 1.
Should we do that wacky story after we come back from the break?
Hey, I loved those. Those were funny.
was funny.
I still have the personal trainer at my gym. I still talk to him about the Philly naked bike ride.
Yeah, we had some good ones.
There were some good ones last semester. You know what? I'm gonna do that during college radio day. I'm gonna find some wacky stories to play at whatever hour, because I'll be here most likely midnight to midnight that October 4th.
Yeah.
Along with a lot of our staff that'll be here supporting World College Radio Day and College Radio Day here at UNO. You can hear all of the action. I'm going to call it action because it's going to be a fun-packed day with guests and games and trivia. And anybody can call in. We have a phone here in the studio. We'll give that number out on College Radio Day that if we want to do, call in and you can win something cool. Or call in and just talk on the radio because you don't see a lot of that today on radio shows. Maybe they have in-house guests. But speaking of in-house guests, he was gone. Now he's back again. Ben Helwig is back in here.
I think I just failed capstone in those last 30 minutes. How about that?
Oh,
Just
no.
kidding. I'm back.
Just like Texas, just like Chicago, we're back.
The Bears are back. What are we talking about? Dolphins?
We just kind of finished football.
Yeah, we kind of wrapped football up. Do you have anything you want to add, football related?
The AFC South is going to be really weird this year
Are the
because
Packers
nobody's
gonna win
good.
Thursday?
Against Philly.
I haven't decided yet. I don't know yet, but I don't know if the Eagles are going to be healthy enough. Like
Right.
This is a bad time for the Eagles to play a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
But the Packers offense doesn't look good. I'll say it. Aaron Rodgers has not looked very good. He can't hit his receivers right now in stride. He got lucky with that Marquez Valdez-Scantling offsides touchdown on Sunday. I don't know what to think about the Packers. I think their defense is good, but I don't know if it's great. I think that they might be the best team in the division, but I think the Bears are only going to get better, and I think the Vikings are only going to get better as well, and the Packers got lucky being the Vikings in week 2. The Lions, I don't think are that good, even though they haven't lost yet, because they don't really have an offense. I don't know how they beat the Eagles, but I didn't watch a second of that game. I feel good for Teddy Bridgewater because I think it was really good to see him get a start and play very well. Also, the Browns are not ready for prime time. Baker Mayfield can't throw it inside of the pocket. He just immediately wants to roll out.
They're back in prime time. They play Monday night again.
Well, that is so great. Actually, I don't mind watching the Browns because I like watching Baker Mayfield, and Odell Beckham Jr. is just incredible.
How about the end of that game?
I don't understand.
4th and goal.
You got to get the ball to
Nick Chubb didn't get a touch. OBJ didn't get a touch. And then, like I was saying, Baker Mayfield does not want to stay in the pocket.
No, and
He has to roll out to his right.
always to the right.
It's like
And
his escape hatch.
Teams are going to just eat that alive come later in the season. They're going to see that, and it's just going to be QB spy, and he's just going to get his bell rung one too many times.
The good news for the Browns is
What?
they have a really difficult stretch here. I don't know, but they got New England in there. They got Baltimore in there. They have another Monday night, San Francisco, I think. And then they have a really easy end to the season. So if they're going to take their lumps, they may as well take them early in the season. And then when people kind of stop talking about them, that's when they go on a little bit of a run. I could see that happening. But they'd be only like 9-7 is what I see them capping off at. And they're going to need some help in the AFC. But again, I don't know what the AFC is going to be because the AFC South is weird. The AFC West looks like a one-trick pony with Kansas City. I'm totally out on the Chargers now. Completely done a 180 on them.
Yeah.
And then the AFC East is literally the worst division ever, even though the Bills are 3-0.
Bills.
The
Bills.
Upset this weekend.
Bills
Just
Mafia.
How about Frank
We're
Gore,
gonna come
man?
for you.
Just running. Frank Gore.
Frank
Fountain
Gore,
of
the,
youth.
the fact that man is still running and still good at football
That's
after so
insane.
many years, you got to think that he found the fountain of youth.
He did.
Or he's just trying to keep in the NFL to stay away from his kids. One or the other. I mean,
Dude, I can't even believe he's out there still running. But did we do what did I call it on the fly?
I don't remember.
Oh man, it was a good name. We can go back and listen to it later.
oh no,
Running totals?
Running totals.
Did we do running totals?
No, we did not yet.
Wow.
Well, we
missed
should just
it.
talk about them quick. Like, do you want to come back and do running totals, or do you just
Sure.
want to do them all really quick?
You want to do running totals and then baseball right after? Or running totals
We'll
now?
go baseball, wrap it up with running totals.
Okay, we'll have to be really quick with baseball then, because you guys both have class, right?
No,
I do
don't have
not.
Class.
Oh, you guys
I
don't
just
have
have to
class?
interview you.
You do.
Oh, that's right. You do have to interview me.
Yeah.
Maybe we can interview me in the break. How about that?
Okay.
They're glad we're bringing this on the air. So, all right, we're going to come back after a break. We're going to do our new segment called Running Totals. So that is a good tease right there. You guys are not going to want to miss that. And don't forget, we got baseball talk 'cause it's almost October, guys. All
It
right,
is almost October.
we'll be right back. First warning, MavRadio.fm. And welcome back to First Warning here on MavRadio.fm. Ethan's still jamming out to AC/DC. As we get back rolling, we're going to talk some baseball, and then we're going to do a new segment for you called Running Totals. We'll try and do it at the end of every week. We'll explain it a little better after we talk baseball. But baseball, wild. Final week of the regular season. Can't believe we're here already. Baseball season seemed to go faster than it ever did this year. It was a really fun year.
I think so too.
It's not over yet.
It's
Before we
not.
get rolling, Ethan, as the resident Royals fan, some big news breaking over the weekend. Ned Yost retiring on Sunday. How do you feel?
I'm sad, but I'm happy at the same time. I mean, the players, the fans, the entire city of Kansas City loves Ned Yost. Obviously, very grateful that he was able to lead us to 2 World Series, get a World Series win there in 2015. I just think it's the end of an era in Kansas City for him. He's getting up there. The Royals, as much as this pains me to say, I feel a tear coming. They did lose 100 games this year, 57 and 100 right now. But then it worries me that rumors around Kansas City are that we're getting Mike Matheny.
Ooh.
There's positives and negatives, but I just don't know how I feel about it quite yet. I mean, anything's better than a 100-loss season, but
I wouldn't be totally disappointed with Matheny. I don't know, because he had some success. Do you think there's a chance if the Cubs fire Madden that they get Madden?
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
I have not thought about that because, honestly, I don't think the Cubs should fire Madden,
I don't think so either, but
but
I think if he does get fired, he'll go to the Padres.
that's what I heard
That's
too.
fine.
but-
Padres, okay. I don't think Joe Madden leaves, or I don't think he stays in the Midwest region. I think he would go somewhere bigger. Kansas City's not that big of a market, but the fans are always behind the team, so
It would make sense for him to go East Coast, Midwest, West Coast, but
The thing with the Padres is that, so Madden kind of came with the Cubs when they were up and coming. The Padres have a lot of young talent.
Yeah.
They would be up and coming in the next
Tatis
few years.
Jr.,
same
yeah.
thing happened with the Rays then too, because
Yep.
they made the World Series with him in 08. But just to finish on Ned Yost, he was manager for the Brewers for a while too. Just a really good guy, just a great baseball mind. He's going to be missed in the sport. He was a real good dude. He was easy to root for the Royals back in 14 and 15. Just really good to get behind them.
So
Yeah.
much homegrown talent back then. They had
Oh, yeah.
Gordon, Moustakis, Kane,
Hosmer,
Hosmer.
yeah,
Perez, Dyson.
Escobar even. Yeah.
I just need I need Perez healthy next year.
It was
Please.
just so sad
Yeah.
without him.
And his injury happened here in Omaha. His injury
Yeah.
happened carrying a suitcase either to or from the bus when the Royals came to play the Storm Chasers here in Omaha. It was a rainy day, and somehow he slipped
Just
with the
slipped,
suitcase,
yeah.
and boom, he's out the rest of the year. I'm just like crying literally.
I would say he's probably the best catcher in the major leagues. Is that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, offensively, he might not be that big of a powerhouse as, say, a Gary Sanchez.
But otherwise, he plays every day, other than maybe Sunday. I don't think he usually plays Sunday. Other
When-
than that, he plays
when
just about
If they
healthy-
need him on a Sunday, he'll play.
Oh, yeah.
Guaranteed. And he's just got one of the best arms in the league. I'd put him up there with Yadier Molina.
Yachty.
Hands. I mean, just overall, he's a Gold Glove winning catcher.
That's what I was just
Simple.
going to say. You have Gary Sanchez and Contreras, who are kind of the offensive guys. And then you have Molina and Buster Posey, who are kind of your defensive first catchers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Perez, who does it every day, just like Molina. And he's your all-around guy. He gives you some pop. You can,
Good pop. Yeah.
yeah.
Good pop.
Great behind the plate.
It'll be interesting to see next year. I mean, the Royals will have a lot of young talent.
Yep.
I mean, they showed that this year that they're towards the end they're willing to play these guys to see who's going to make their roster for next year. Bubba Starling finally got the nod.
Yep.
Ryan O'Hearn's playing
Love
real well.
O'Hearn.
How about
Nicky
Soler?
Lopez.
He's got like 40 bombs.
Soler finally came out of his shell in Kansas City.
Kind of an underreported story. The fact that I think he smashed the single season record for the Royals
He
as far
did.
as home
He
runs.
beat Moustakis from two or 3 years ago.
How would the Cubs like to have that right-handed bat in the middle of their lineup?
They would love it,
and I
especially
believe-
because they don't have Davis
Yeah, I was
anymore.
going to say, all they got from that trade was 1 year of Wade Davis, and I believe that was the year they lost to the Dodgers. That was 17, right? Something like that.
Either 16 or 7.
It
16 was the year they won the World Series.
Yeah, I don't think...
17.
And it would have been 17. Yeah.
Yeah, 17 is when they got
'cause
Davis.
16, they got Chapman
Yep.
for Gleyber Torres, who they would also like to have, but Chapman brought them a World Series.
It's always fun watching the kind of like the deterioration of those deadline deals. Like when the A's went out and got John Lester, like who'd they give up to get John Lester? Because John Lester, they didn't even win that wild card against the Royals, and I think that was that 14 when the Royals won the wild card against the A's.
2014.
That would've been
14.
14.
Yep,
That would've been the
because
first
the
round.
Giants and the Royals both came from the wild card that
Yep.
year.
Yep.
Madison
Mad Bum.
Bumgarner.
Mad Bum.
Oh my gosh, that man.
I like this just reminiscing baseball segment. We don't have to
Yeah.
talk about anything else other than just like good memories of
Reminiscing.
baseball.
I do have to say, a couple weeks ago, I counted Milwaukee out.
I did
after
too.
Yelich went down. And here you are sitting next to me with a Brewers hat and a Brewers shirt and Brewer-colored shorts.
Woo!
Because the Brewers are going to make the playoffs. Chicago ran themselves out of the playoffs and gave that second wild card spot, basically handed it to Milwaukee and said, we're not good enough for it. Here, take it.
The Brewers are going to win the first wild card is what I think. They have pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. They play the Pirates and the Padres, I believe.
From the standpoint of Washington just has so many games left. Like they have 5 games in 4 days, or now 4 games in 3 days after beating the Phillies last night.
Yeah.
Before the Washington then has a tough matchup with Cleveland this weekend.
Yeah. They're going to
Brewers
be fighting
have
for their
the Reds and the Rockies, so they should be okay. Brewers really
Cleveland-
should go 6-0 there.
Cleveland is fighting. I
Yeah.
mean, they're half
With the
game back
Rays.
there with the Rays. And let's see if I can pull up.
Who do you guys got in
Oakland.
the American League for? I think Oakland, they don't have a very tough schedule. I think they'll get the first wild card.
I'm hoping for A's and Rays just because I literally don't think a single person would watch that wild card.
Yeah.
Those are like 2 of the weaker fan bases in sports.
It is true. Tampa Bay can barely give away tickets.
Yeah, and Oakland, you've seen their stadium. Like that would just be kind of like just a giant baseball meme that nobody wants to go to this playoff game.
Oakland's
And an
toilets
interesting thing with
overflow.
Oakland is I think they went like 9-10 against the Astros this year. So they're pretty competitive. They have the Astros number. If the Astros get home field and the A's win that wild card game, could that be I mean, you've seen wild card teams make a run before. Could the A's knock off the Astros?
I think with baseball, you always kind of look at who's the hottest
Right.
and just kind of who grabs a hold of that momentum. So it doesn't matter if you come out of the wild card or not. If you're playing well, that seems to be the thing. And right now, everybody I think seems to agree that the hot team right now is Houston. And I really don't think anyone's going to be able to top Houston in the American League. I would love it for it to be the Twins or the Rays or like a smaller market team like that.
Yeah.
But Houston is just, that rotation is unmatched. That being said, Washington could be a team that could run through the National League because of their rotation. They're not necessarily hot right now, but pitching matters when it gets to the playoffs. And if you can throw a good starter every single time, which a lot of teams really can't do, I really like Washington's
Yeah, we
chances.
talked about this last week. Corbin owns the Dodgers, and Scherzer game 1 against your Brewers, and then come back with Corbin. I mean, and then Strasburg, and then Scherzer again, and it's just like
Yeah, just pick your poison. I mean, I would love to see if the Astros, if they make it to the World Series, if it'll come down to their offense or if it'll come down to their 3 Cy Young winning aces that they have in Verlander, Greinke, and Garrett Cole. I don't know if he hasn't won a Cy Young, but they're all aces.
they're going to have top 2 this year with Verlander and Cole.
Yeah.
And then Charlie Morton might finish 3rd, and he was there last year.
It's ridiculous what Houston has been able to put together since 16, because didn't they end up missing the playoffs then in 17 before coming back in 18, 19?
No, 17 they won the World Series.
Oh, 15 they missed the World
Yeah.
Series or missed the playoffs.
because the Royals beat them.
No, what am I thinking?
I thought
of?
I saw a stat the other day that said
16 they missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
Sorry, because the Indians won the AL.
because Altuve's he was on 3 consecutive 100 loss teams, and then now he's been on 3 consecutive 100 win teams.
Imagine that. Imagine just absolutely. I mean, yes, you love to play baseball, but nobody likes losing, except maybe the Miami Dolphins. But
And the Marlins.
300 lost teams. I would just hate showing up to the ballpark. And
Yeah.
now you're on arguably one of the powerhouse teams in the entire MLB. I mean, right up there with lineups in that short porch in Yankee Stadium. The Twins leading the charge with the most home runs in the MLB. I mean, you've got some young guys doing it.
Yeah.
Carrera, Alvarez, who just got recently called up.
Alex
George
Bregman.
Springer, Bregman.
He could win the MVP if it's not Trout.
I think
It'll
It'll be Trout, but
gotta be
not
Trout.
Trout.
I think
Even
Bregman
though-
will finish
even
second.
though he's out for the rest of the year. It's
Yeah.
Trout.
It's got to be Trout. But, I mean, that's what's so great about baseball. You look at some of these teams. The Astros were essentially the Browns of Major League Baseball. They were just continually mocked. And now they are going to be in the playoffs for the third straight season with their third straight 100-win season. And then you look at the teams like the Indians, too. They're always – the Royals, we were talking about them. The Nationals weren't supposed to be good this year, but look at them. Like, they get rid of their best player, or their best player leaves, or whatever you want to say it, and they're probably going to make the playoffs. It's just crazy. Baseball's the best. Anyone who says baseball's the
I
best.
think it's funny.
Come on.
Jack and I were talking about this yesterday that Washington plays Philly, and Washington has a chance to eliminate Philly
Yeah.
from the playoffs. So Harper's former team that he leaves because they can't get it done in the postseason is going to eliminate him from the postseason. So enjoy your paycheck and go home and enjoy the rest of your October.
And Philly kind of went all in, this offseason. Like, they signed Bryce Harper, but they also signed
Real
David
Muto.
Robertson. They trade for Real Muto, Gene Segura, and
Andrew
Andrew McCutcheon.
They went out and got Arrieta the year
Yeah.
before. Yeah, they were all
They
in.
made so many moves, and everyone was talking about will the Phillies dethrone the Braves.
The Phillies, after the Phillies signed Harper, they had one of the best shots to win the World Series, odds-wise.
Yeah.
They shot to the very top.
Now they're going to finish, fourth in their division?
Hey.
They're right there with the Mets. They're in fourth right now.
Are they in fourth right now? Yeah, so I'm just...
That's crazy.
And
man.
now think about this, Bryce Harper, you're stuck there for the next decade.
I mean, if we want to talk about stuck there, Mike Trout's kind of stuck there as well. But
that's
like,
true. Mike
he's
Trout
at
will
least
never
doing
win
it
a
the right
World
way.
Series.
Yeah.
They have
Wasted
money coming
talent.
off the books soon with Pujols and some other bad pitching signings.
I always talk about whenever the Angels
Hopefully.
come up, they just need some pitching because
Yeah.
God, that is a terrible pitching staff, and it just has been for the Angels ever since Trout's been there. The only playoff appearance I think with Trout was in 14 when the Royals swept them
Yep.
in the ALDS. So
I've heard
And
that
that
they
wasn't
might
even
be
supposed to happen.
players for
Yeah.
Garrett Cole in the
Okay.
offseason. They have a lot, because I think Pujols comes off the book.
this year
Yeah, I think.
they would have made more of a big deal about that if this was this last year. Really,
Okay, maybe it's someone else, but I
I
heard
felt
that,
like Pujols has at least.
I
another
heard that they
year,
have a
so.
lot of money, and Pujols was the first one that came to mind on
Oh, yeah, he's
big
overpaid.
contracts. Yeah.
We will continue our conversation on the Angels' finances next week, but we got to get to this new segment for you. We're calling it running totals.
Running
Basically,
totals.
I think Jack should explain it because I'm not totally sure on the rules here yet, and we're talking about scoring or whatever. But we're just gonna leave it to you, Delperdang. This is your idea. Tell us how running totals work, and then we'll do the thing.
Okay, so we're kind of picking upsets in college football or NFL. So we're going to keep track of basically how many points the upset was. So I guess we'll each pick an upset from the weekend that we think will happen. And if it does, you get the amount of points that team was an underdog. And then we'll keep track of that as the season
We'll
goes
keep a
on.
running total.
Running total.
Running totals.
We need to
really
make
proud
a
of
gift
myself.
for that or something.
We need to make like imaging like for our play it on the soundboard like running totals, and you're like
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
We
like
need to work on that.
like a Scooby Doo like running sound. That was bad. Running sound. Anyway, we'll start with running totals. Jack, since it's your segment, this is your baby. Who is your underdog of the weekend to get you off and running?
My underdog is actually ranked Kansas State. They go to Stillwater to face Oklahoma State, who's coming off a tough loss at Texas.
That was a tough one.
Kansas State has looked good. They beat Mississippi State. They beat other couple good teams. I think Kansas State will steal that one in Stillwater for 5 points.
For 5 points. How about that? Ethan, we'll move on to you. Running totals. This can be college or NFL. Anything from the weekend.
I didn't know that NFL was in it, but I chose college football as well. I guess I'll look at NFL next week. I chose another Pac-12 after dark game. Washington State's going to walk in and just beat Utah. Utah is not as good as people think they are. Line on that one, 6.5 points. We do have to mention that if the team wins but doesn't cover the spread, you get half the points.
Yep.
So say Washington State wins, but they don't win by 6.5, I get 3.5 or 3.25 points.
Yep.
So you can really make it big if you chose, a team that's down 40 or 43-point underdog. But Ben, running total, do you have one in your head? Oh, you picked one before you left.
Yeah, I got one. It
Okay.
was a Friday night game,
Maryland.
actually. Penn State goes to College Park to play the Terrapins. I know people are down on the Terrapins because they looked bad against Temple, but but I think they rebound. Penn State hasn't given me anything to really write home about this year. I think they got question marks on offense. I think the Maryland offense has been really good. Otherwise, other than that Temple game, I think Maryland plays in front of a good home crowd on a Friday night, short week. Maryland upsets Penn State. They win outright despite being 7-point home dogs. Running totals.
Running totals, ladies and gentlemen. That was something we were hoping to get into the broadcast throughout the rest of the year, is just these fun games. I know this one's Jack's baby. I'm going to try to think of another one that we can do. Just
Another
a quick
game?
2-3 minutes. We can pick it, talk about it, because I really think this is what makes it fun. I mean, we all have fun talking about sports.
Yes. Yeah.
Keeping track and the competitiveness of all of us is up there, and running totals will really get the fire going.
Yeah, that's right. So if we can come up with any other ideas for segments, that would be great.
If you
Get
have
some
any
imaging
segment ideas you're listening in, you can tweet at us at MavRadio UNO on Twitter. Let us know if you have a game you want us to play or something that you want us to talk about on air, and we can do that for you.
And that'll do it for us here on First Warning. We're going to try and podcast these. We ran out of our podcast space on our website, so we'll try and get this one up. This one will likely not be podcasted. We'll try and get it up to our YouTube page, though, however, so you can listen to that. And then we'll try and get the first one of October podcast. And that'll be a big one because next week we'll be doing MLB playoff predictions. And prediction shows are the best shows.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Jack Delperdang, Jack McGonigal, Ethan Wolbach, Ben Helwig here. This has been First Warning on MavRadio.fm.